Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Good to see you again, potentially. Paul Trani, diving in Photoshop Masterclass, productivity tips and tricks. So I do this every week, about 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, and always open to new topics and things. I have an agenda. This is Masterclass, so I'm going to have a good time. I know a lot of people are pretty intelligent here. But yeah, if you do a search on Masterclass, I don't know, it should come up. I'm sorry, I don't have it all. I usually post to my Instagram each week, because what happens each week is we create a cool, what I think is a cool design. Today's no different, and today's covering productivity tips and tricks. So we'll kind of dive into that right now. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. And fantastic. Catherine's in the house. Richard is here. 1:31 p.m. That's awesome. Yeah, lunchtime. I'm into it. All right, so let's kind of switch over and kind of reveal a piece that I did. I was thinking of doing it for the Daily Creative Challenge, but it got a little bit complex. So you can kind of see, yes, I did have a photo shoot one day and kind of created this piece. But this is just a jumping off point since I'm working with this file. Okay, we did this one as part of the Daily Creative Challenge. We talked about animation, so that was super fun. Let me know if you have questions. All right, so let's dive into this. You guys are too kind. Thank you so much, Jordan. So again, I thought this was pretty cool. We can pick apart how this was made all day long. Guess what? We can kind of determine, well, how many layers are in this, for instance, right? It'll always say right down here the number of layers and the groups. And you can always change, say, the document dimensions, how long it takes for processes to run, the current tool, if you care to reference it by name, which is good if you're doing presentations. You could look in the lower left corner and just, because sometimes you're like, oh, the squiggly line tool. Well, it's the lasso tool or whatever. I'm doing layer count. Notice how there's 93 layers in here. It's pretty large. Like, how do we navigate such a file is the thought. Oh, thank you so much. You're too kind, right? And let me just change some of this. Hold on, I'm sorry. I already have some of the things already set up. Because if I take a look at my layers panel, it's like kind of crazy. I don't know what's what. Introduced in Photoshop CC 2020, which I thought was awesome. It's like this artwork 28, I don't know what it is, but if I hold down the Option key and I click on that layer, it will zoom right to it. I actually don't know what it is, right? But I could see what it is by holding down the Option key again, right over here, and clicking on the eyeball, right? It's like, oh, I kind of don't see it still. Hold down the Option key again. Oh, there it is. It's that nice, what is that, apple blossom? Apple blossoms there. Oh. Now, you ready for this? Sometimes I screw up which things are turned on and off. Okay, so hopefully you guys like this. I think this is awesome, by the way. Like, sometimes I'll play around with things. I'll turn on different layers. I'll try just different options. And I'm like, oh, it was like 5 clicks ago I had the right combo, right? Because I actually turned off everything, right? And I'm like, I want my history panel to remember what's shown and what's not shown. So I'll drag out this history panel, go into the options for it, this flyout menu, go into history options right in here, and make layer visibility changes undoable, which sounds like a horrible idea, right? But we want to make this undoable, so we could always undo on and off. And sure enough, layer visibility is what I can turn on and off. You ready for this? This is like pro tips. I'm so happy that you're here. I hope you get a lot out of this. So many tips to show. It's just amazing. All right, so I can see all my files. I really can't see what's what. Like, yeah, there's a butterfly there somewhere. I don't know what it looks like. What do all these, it's a leaf? What the heck? I can't see any of this stuff, right? Go into the flyout menu for the layers panel. Go to panel options as well. So panel options for the layers panel right over here. Guess what? Instead of these thumbnails being very nebulous and I can't see what's what, let's make the thumbnail contents the layer bounds. Okay, I'll stop there, take a drink of my coffee. Steve, you're not awake yet. So layer bounds. And then another thing I do is I don't expand new effects. And I don't add the word copy when I duplicate layers, because I probably duplicated these butterflies a lot. I don't like butterfly copy, you know, things like that. So this is typically my setup. If I click OK, let's watch the layers panel. Boom. Oh, there you are, pretty butterflies. Okay, you're the red one. You're the orange one, right? We could see it right there. And based on what we've learned, we can click the Option key. Ready? Zhoo. Takes us right to it. The red one, zhoo, there it is. The green one, zhoo. The green one's upside down, kind of. So I love being able to navigate around. Command 0 will take me back out. 6:30 a.m. in New Zealand. So Nicole, hopefully you appreciate that. This is so nice. Isn't this this panel just so pleasant now? It's like, oh, yeah, I get it. I didn't name things. Guess what? It's like a different part of my brain having to read the name of the layer. I'm like, monarch, what is that? Oh, yeah, that's a butterfly. Oh, guess what? It's the orange butterfly. That's all I need to know. Let me learn visually. Let me reference these visually, and let's kind of go on from there. Okay, so you got that. That's pretty cool. We're just dealing with navigating a document. I could take this to the next level. Since I did open this document, you're like, where the heck is this document? Do you ever work on that? You're like, work on a file, and you're like, where did I put it? Like, I have no idea. On my desktop, in my files somewhere, it's in one of these. Or was it in streaming projects? Right? I don't know where that file is. Well, we can always locate that file. Like, is it this one over here? Is it that? It's not this one. Is it this one? Let me open this one up real fast by double clicking on it. Wait for it. Right, there's another one. So you could right click on the title and you could say reveal in Finder. I find this hugely helpful. Even if you know where it is, this is the shortcut to getting to that folder. Bam, reveal in Finder. Boom, there it is, Paul Ribbon. Okay. Ari, I really do love butterflies, don't I? They're magical creatures. And I just like nature type stuff. We could take a look at how this is put together as well if you're interested. This is very MC Escher-ish. If you notice, I opened up this other file, which actually kind of breaks down more how this was put together. But I have a couple different files open. You saw it here. I probably had some more in here as well. Previous versions. Here's the original. Right, so we can kind of roll this back a little bit. Yeah, reveal in Finder, love it. Some of the things that I use like all the time, right? I have these 3 files open, like it's kind of the 3 different stages of this particular project, because I'll save it like ribbon 1, ribbon 2, ribbon 3, whatever, right? I want to view all of these, and I also have this butterfly that I might want to steal, because guess what? This is animated. We could have one butterfly flapping around in here. Why not? But I want to go ahead and view and arrange all of these tiled, okay? So I could see them all at once. So I can select tile, boom, you get how that works. Window, arrange, consolidate all to tabs, consolidates them all back, right? If you find yourself doing anything a lot, turn it into a shortcut, and everybody says that. I'm not big into like, I get it. You're probably not going to make everything a shortcut. You're probably just going to make a couple things a shortcut they use all the time. I use this all the time. That's the short of it. So keyboard shortcuts, I mapped it out already that way. Do that as well. I usually do for my shortcuts is I use all the keys. So I do Control, Option, Command, and then usually the first letter of the, sorry about that, of the shortcut. So Control, Option, Command, T will give me tile, right? So that's what I do. Bam, 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 bam. I could jump out. Oh, here's my first one, clicking over there. Bam, we're back in it, right? Just like so, okay? We see this original image. I can go through some tips as well. So right in here, let's go back to the original. like this. This is the original. This is the scary one, right? And speaking of shortcuts, Dave, like look at how rough, look at how, good Lord, help me. Horrible, right? How do you quickly like cut things out and clean things up, right? Let's go through that process really fast, okay? And let's just group all this stuff together. Command G, group. But for this file, what do we want to do? Let's rasterize this layer. Okay, so first thing I want to try, typically, I'll try remove background just to see what happens. I'll click remove background. Guess what? It did it. Boom. Remove background. Oh, I love it, Steve. You know how we used to wake up and like in the States, we'd watch like Saturday morning cartoons, and Steve's waking up and watching Photoshop, which is awesome. So remove background is the first thing I'll try, because guess what? It did it for me, which is awesome. Like super cool. It created that layer mask. Again, this is a new feature. Guess what? If you have it set up this way, you get asked, I'm sorry I don't have this reset, but I can go ahead and double click and double click on that layer mask and jump into the selections and masks and try to grab, just kind of roll around the hair with the refine edge tool, right? Decontaminate colors. Again, another pro tip. You want to decontaminate colors if there's color in the background. And done. It's kind of feather that out. I can still actually see some green in there. Guess what? I can get rid of that going back into this mask. Painting right there with the good old refine edge. Click OK. Oh, did I actually select refine edge? Oh, select decontaminate colors, and I can see how that works. So when you have more time, you can kind of clean this up a little bit better. I'm sure I have some on the side of my face. Yep, you guessed it, kind of like right there. Right, it does that, actually gets rid of that green as well. Done. Cool. All right. Let's check everything. Everything's good. Fantastic. So that's cleaned up. I get it. You took that selfie. You look horrible. You probably look great. I look horrible. Again, this is all about pro tips, and we're about working fast. Like you as a designer, Steve, you probably know this, Michelle. Like I can come in here and I can add adjustment layers all day long. So I want to increase the, maybe the levels, for instance, right? And kind of put this on top, right? And then just kind of play with the levels to make it a little bit brighter, right? You'll maybe work on the color tones as well. So you do hue and saturation, stuff like that. You'll add a lot of adjustment layers when really I just want to kind of make this better. So right in here for this Paul image, we'll turn this into a smart object. Now that it's a smart object, I'll typically use camera raw filter because this is the easiest thing to do. You ready? Michelle says her selfies are much worse. Michelle, much respect. I'm sure that's not the case. I'm sure it's not the case. But I get it. Everybody's like, oh, what did I do? What was I just like lost in the desert for weeks? I want to get rid of that. Guess what? Right over here, all of those adjustment layers, I can actually access and use good old camera raw. In fact, I'll just hit auto. Boom. We could hit auto, and then we can play with this. But it actually has all those settings that adjustment layers would have. So if you want your easy button, hit auto, play with it. Guess what? We want to remove some of this texture, right? I get it. I know people that have been doing this a while would add, it would be a very long process that I don't need to get into. Oh yeah, great. Shayna, oh, I love it. I love your, Shayna's in the house. Shayna, did I ask any question? You asked me a question on Discord, and let me know if I didn't answer it. But let's go ahead and take this texture down. We'll take the texture down. Shoop, we get rid of the texture. Right? We have massive shininess on the forehead. We could do that a couple different ways. Typically for like any of these, I think maybe I already kind of touched this up a little bit. But I could use spot removal also in Camera Raw. The cool thing about it is I could draw a shape, right? It's going to go ahead and grab from that point. Kind of move that over, can grab from that area as well. Okay, type is healing. We can actually clone it directly, but this looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to click OK. This is how I would do that, by the way, to answer Shayna's question really fast. I'd create a new layer. I would use the spot healing brush tool, so the Band-Aid. I would come in here, and I could paint over this, and it samples from everywhere, which is kind of an issue. But what I want to do is I want to change the blend mode. So if I change this down to darken, as I paint over this, it actually gets rid of the dark tones. If I change it to lighten, it's going to get rid of the light tones. And that's essentially what we want to do here. Sample all layers. Let's do this spot right up here. This might be... Okay, what? I know I always get it backwards. That's why I look at both. There we go. So I was correct the first time. You set it to darken. It's going to get rid of the light pixels and make it darker. But see how I have that shine right there? If I change this to darken, it's going to get rid of the light areas. Paint over that and it disappears. Paint over this, it disappears. This gets a little bit more intense, by the way. This is pretty large, and it's actually sampling from some green there. But anyways, that's typically what I would do. Okay, so let's move on from there. Cool. Zach, you could watch this video anytime you want. I'd prefer you watch it right now with me. But yes, it will be available on demand under replays here and things like that. I talked about this a little bit ago. I can take these items, I can convert them to a smart object. Now we have two. We can always undo that move by converting back to layers as well. Okay, cool. Wait for it. All right. Okay, let's get into some more things. So many things. I'm kind of referencing my notes. So, don't mind me. Cool. All right, let's move on. Let's tackle some of the... Oh, shoot. Time is flying. I have this set up. You can see what I did here is I started to unwind myself, right? So I can kind of take this, Command-J to jump this layer, and then I can use the pen tool. So this is what people will typically do. This is what I would do in the past, okay? So you ready for this? And by the way, let's throw a fun background back there because I am just tired of this boring gray. And I can mention gradients and I can mention swatches as well. Okay, mention how these work. You ready for this? This is all so fascinating. I could talk about this stuff all day long. Right in here, I just have this blank layer. I will usually make a blank layer, by the way, because just so you know, let's kind of put that away. Here's Paul. Anytime you have a layer over here and you're like, hey, I want to add like a background, right? And let's just say this is unlocked. I want to add a different background between these two layers. I'll grab this, right? I could try to double click on it, but I want to drag this like over. When I drag it over here, it gets added, but it gets added to whatever layer you drop it on. Okay, so be mindful of that. It'll actually like drop it on. So sometimes I'll actually just create a blank layer, and then you can always drop that color right on that blank layer, and it will convert it. We want to change it back to a color, so let's get rid of that. We'll go to the swatches. We can go from solid color to gradients back and forth. That's how that works, okay? Right, we can start to take, text as well. You ready for this? Crank it up. Zoop. I'd probably do something fun with this text. I'd have some fun with it. But there's my text back there. I'm going to show you what happens when I do the same thing, but this is a text layer. Okay, so here's the text. I'm going to drop this on. Actually, let's do this with the swatches. When I drop this on this text layer, it's going to change the color. It doesn't add a color overlay to it. Okay, it actually changes the color. So see that? Changing it to gold, changing it to yellow, changing it to red or purple, right? It changes the actual color, right? It doesn't add it as a color overlay. But when you, and let's just change this back to my nice color. There we go. When you drop on a gradient, what happens there is it actually adds it as a, you guessed it, as a layer style gradient, right? So just kind of be mindful of how these work when you drop them onto different objects, okay? All right. Oh, Nima, great question. Do these gradients, are they available in the 2020 version? Yes, they are. They are available. Here's the issue. Quite frankly, to be honest with you, if I reset this, the thing is everything's in these folders. Everything's in these like random folders that are called blue, green, red. That's what it looks like by default. All I did is I said, you know, I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of all those categories, right? All that stuff, and take those and put them all in one folder that I can easily look at for future reference. So that's all I did, just FYI. Okay. Now, here's another thing about these gradients, by the way, since we're talking about them. In fact, I'm going to just drop this. Oh, yeah. Clear layer style. There it is. Oh, I want to change this. Give me 1 second. I can't help it. Change this to black. We're going to get rid of the spacing. Everything is done in the properties panel, by the way. Check it out. Like everything for my specific layer is done in the properties panel. Boom, boom, boom. Taking this down. Actually, let's tighten this up some more. Negative 100. Like that. There we go. Boom. Cool. Maybe I'll click through the different blend modes. This is nice. Cool. All right, so this background, for instance. I want this background. Notice how it's always linear every time I drop them on, which can be kind of annoying. It's like, oh, it's always linear, but I want it to come out from the center. So be radial. Well, guess what? In your gradients panel, if I click right here, we have it right in here. So radial gradient. Now make it radial gradient every time I drop that on, like so. Okay? So that's what I would typically do. Change that to what you want, right? We can see that happen. And you have all those other options right in there. Cool? Cool. I'm here for questions. I'm just showing you my pro tips and tricks. I talked about applying adjustment layers, layer styles, by the way, as well. Let's get into layer styles. Valder, good to have you. So some people don't know this as well, but I'm going to jump in here and I'm thinking, okay, I need to, for this Paul text, which I'm going to make it thicker again. I apologize. Taking this down. So many tips. You ready for this, Michelle? Sometimes when you resize something, like you actually need to use the transform tool. I need to zoom out because this is like, okay, this is huge. If you do Command T, which I did, you could do Command 0 and it will fit full screen anything that you have selected, right? So now I can kind of shrink that down like so. So we'll just do something like that. And we'll start to play with some different layer styles. So right in here, I'll go ahead and add a stroke to it. I'll crank this up a little bit. That looks pretty good, right? I want to add a little bit more to it as well. Okay, I want to add actually another stroke. I've seen people duplicate text in this case. Well, guess what? You can always add, for a lot of these, multiple strokes in this case. So for the second one, we will make it more of a, I don't know what's going on with this, the colors that I'm picking, but you can see how this is laid out. It's like I'm putting one stroke on top of the other, and I can start to adjust those. You can see how that looks, right? But just showing you that you could start to stack strokes, shadows, overlays, all sorts of things, right? Click OK. Let's go beyond that actually really fast. Boom, boom. Let's go into, once you create something cool, by the way, I'll add different styles and different things. I will use my styles panel. Here's my styles panel. Add that as a new style, and this is Paul style. I don't know why this is starting to look like like a baby invitation or something. It's just very weird. So that's why I want to change the style completely, right? So right in here, I want to change this entirely. I'm going to go back to my gradients. We're going to get a cool gradient, like so. Actually, one of these. There we go. Maybe this one. Haven't fully decided yet. But here's some additional layer styles. I could drop that onto Paul. We can see that, how that looks. And this one, but I'm actually just grabbing one of these to show you that this has multiple effects and styles. So we can see this one right here that gives it this gold foil. Here's my gold foil. You could see the number of effects that have been added, and I can continue that on. So this one actually isn't a great example. I was looking for one that had multiple layer styles, but you get the idea, and that's looking pretty good. Cool. All right, let me take somebody else's name. Let's take, all right, Brandy likes the gold medal, so Brandy it is. Brandy, I hope it's okay since I used your name. Increasing the depth of this. Bevel and emboss, since you liked it. There we have Brandy. Command 0, scale it down. You get the idea. Cool. So yeah, I just make my own styles and then I save them. That's how I was able to come up with this gold so fast, right? What is it? It's a lot of bevel and emboss. We can see the texture right in there. That's where this texture comes from. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I need to work on the background some more, Brandy. Hopefully that's okay. There we go. Do something like that. There you go, Brandy. She needs some lens flares. How do we do that? New layer. Lens flare is one way of doing things, right? I feel like I've shown this like so much this week. Here's the lens flare. Change that to screen. There it is. Maybe adjusting the color a little bit so it's a little more gold. Like that. That's one way of doing things. All right. Cool. There you are, Brandy. Okay, so we're 30 minutes in. Everything is looking good. Thanks for joining me also on YouTube, Antonio and Ian. So yeah, we can have some more fun with this. I can create a new layer. Use brushes, and we can get into some brush tips and tricks. Okay, I've been talking about this a lot, but you could always reset the tool. I usually ask people to do that. That will reset it back if you want to go back to the original size and hardness. But then I encourage people to create that lens flare. We did this the other day, by the way, really fast. Let's invert this. Let's just maybe increase the contrast a little bit. Here's my lens flare. I can turn this lens flare into its own brush. So lens flare, white is going to be transparent. Go down to define brush preset. Here's my Paul brush flare. Done. Okay. Turning that off. Hitting B for brush. There it is. The brush flare. Boom. There it is. Okay. So I can add a little boom like that. And yeah, I get that little bit of an issue right there. But I could have some fun with this as well. I'll go into the brushes right over here. Some things that I didn't talk about this week, and that's why I'm glad I'm doing this masterclass, is we worked on shape dynamics. We're going to change the size. And actually, let me pull out this panel. I really want to grab one of my brushes, but Okay, so change the size, change the, actually we'll leave that as is, but it's going to change the size as well. We're going to make sure it's going to be at different angles as well each time we press. And we want to scatter it, right? We want to scatter. So it's going to be scattered out because we're going to make this just sparkle, okay? Next thing I want to do is work with color dynamics. So I want it to bounce between foreground and background color. So we'll go with maybe a gold and a white, something like that. Those are the two colors. I should probably do something a little bit more drastic. But with that done, hit B for brush, turning those off. And yeah, I can paint on these like lovely like sparkles, right? We did that earlier this week, which is so helpful. But you know what? You can actually make this even more advanced by combining it with another brush. So I'm going to select dual brush because guess what? I have some more fun little lens flares right in here that look different. They don't even look that much different, but let's do this one right here. This is the other brush. Clicking that, I could use that brush in combination with my current brush, or maybe this other one. Yeah, you get the idea. Cool. Just combining brushes together. You ready for this? I could show some realistic shadow. Yeah, I could maybe do that. Let me just paint this on a little bit more. There we go. That's okay. A lot of times I'll play with brushes and I'll get these settings squared away because I always want to use the shape dynamics. I always want to scatter it, and I always want to change the size. So guess what? I could lock these into place. Lock, lock, lock. It's like, okay, I want to do everything I just did, but I want to use a different brush for that. Okay, so we'll go in and grab a different lens flare. This one, for instance. New layer. It locks down those settings, and now I can paint with this seemingly much larger brush. But it has those same settings. Cool. I can never find my brush after I make it. Yeah, I agree. I feel like my brushes panel just turns into a mess, by the way. Right? Which is, I'm embarrassed to say, it took us a couple years to get this squared away. Because finally now, what can we do? We can orient these any way we want. The latest brushes you make are going to appear at the bottom, but once you have those squared away, you can go into, lens flare and reorganize those any ways you want. All right, but it is super hard to find. By the way, I should be able to show the brush tip as well. So this is going to be helpful. I'll select brush tip, and now I get a visual of the brush tip as well as the stroke. Okay, so maybe that helps when it comes to organizing your brushes. Cool. Cool. But that's a huge thing. Like, yeah, it's just a huge thing. All right, Brandy. Yeah, that's not bad. I'd definitely play with the color some more. I'd probably actually grab something like this. That looks even better, potentially. Let's change the color. I don't know. It's not bad. All right. It needs more work. All right. Let's get into some more tips. Since I'm dealing with this text, guess what? This is always going to be editable. And my properties panel is now a first-class citizen. So, how's Barb doing today? Let's change this text, just like I was saying. Barb. Guess what? I don't want Barb to be in all caps. I don't go to the character panel. I don't go to the paragraph panel anymore because all those settings are actually right in here. Like, look, this is a piece of cake, right? Turn off all caps. Apparently I was typing in all caps. Shame on me. There we go. Let's change this a little bit more. Here's Barb. I'm going to change this to my favorite font. Here's a fun font. And let's change this glyph as well. And this is why I like this font. Cool. There you are, Barb. Are you into it? Yeah. Yes, is it, Justine? Justine, let me know, what you're referring to. This is a recent update, by the way. Yes, everything's in the properties panel, right? And it changes based on what is selected. Okay. So right down here, we can see, all the options for text. If I happen to be on a, wait for it. Oh yeah, this one. Let's just grab. I deeply apologize for everybody who's been hanging out with me because I've been using butterflies way too much. As I drop this in, you can see that the properties change based on what's available. So right in here, this is a smart object technically, but it's an Adobe stock object. Gives me the license number, right? I can actually jump out and look at it and actually see related items as well. There's 1,000 things I need to talk about still as I start to look at this. Right, so cool. I have a reference to this file. Imagine if this was rasterized, right? This is now a pixel-based layer, right? Since it's a pixel-based layer, I get additional options as well. If I had multiple things selected, I can align them, but guess what? I just want to remove the background. We can click there, and it's removed the background, right? Pretty straightforward. I didn't want the flower. I just want the butterfly. Well, guess what? I can go over here, use something like the object selection tool, right? And draw a box around that object that I want to select. In this case, the butterfly, it selects the butterfly. I can hold on the shift key and start to grab more content. So now I'm grabbing the legs and different parts, stuff like that. Okay, cool. From there, remove background. Oh, actually, no, sorry. Make a mask. Boop. There you go, Barb. Kind of prefer this version though. There it is. Shrink that down. Let's flip it horizontally and get started. Okay, cool. Let's move on from this because there's more I can do that I actually want to show you. That's done. That's looking pretty good. Kind of. I'd probably make that much smaller and play with this some more. Right? Maybe that's a little butterfly that hangs right there. But once I have this done, let's grab this part really fast and mask it out. Cool. Done. There you go, Barb. Cool. Yes, that's a good point. So yes, Adobe stock images can be used in Word and PowerPoint. By the way, we have a partnership with Microsoft. So when you're in PowerPoint, you probably have to have the latest version of PowerPoint. And but basically you have access to your library panel right over here in PowerPoint, right? I think it's also in Word too, but I'm not 100% sure. But I know I would say I'm 90% sure you have access to your library in all of the Microsoft Office products where you'd want them. So again, it's your library is available. This is awesome. So you're working with that executive. You can have a whole branding folder for Atlas, right? Here's my Atlas stuff. These are all the approved images, right? We have the approved logo right in here, and they can pull in that approved logo, and it's all, you know, sort of in one spot that can be changed later. Okay. So, okay. If you end up with some crazy colors and you want to switch back to the defaults, Shift D will switch back to the defaults. All right, let's talk about the library a little bit more, because as we're building this out, we can see this text. I like this text for Barb. We can add this once I select that layer, by the way. See how it changes, by the way? Look, I have this layer selected, which is a text layer. It will give me all the options for text. If I have a pixel layer, it's going to give me that. Guess what? It can actually create content from an image as well. So check this out. Create from image. I just have that butterfly selected, and now I have this butterfly pattern. So this is Adobe Capture basically built within Photoshop. So here it is. Butterfly, kind of can change this any way I want. Get a really fun pattern for Barb. Change that pattern as well. Right, cool. Kind of looks like very spider web-ish. Let's go with that. Ultimately, I want the shape of the butterfly, right? Guess what? Switch to shapes and invert to grab the outline. I can grab more detail if I want. And now I'm going to have a vector version. I'm going to start saving this to CC libraries. Click Save to CC libraries. It's going to appear in my CC library down at the, boom, there it is. Boom. It'll appear right there, okay? Same thing for the pattern. Save to CC libraries. Done, right? Gradients. Yeah, that's what I want. I'm going to draw a line over this other part because I want to make sure I grab this gorgeous orange color, right? So that's done. Boom, grabbing those gradients just like that. Cool, does that make sense? Oh yeah, and then color themes, right? I don't want that green. There we go, I do want that color. Done. Can you show how to make your face cut? Yes, I can do that, totally. So that's done, by the way. Everything's in here. I can use those patterns any way I want, like I'm doing right now. There it is. Let's make this much smaller. Almost too small. You get the idea. There you go, Barb. It's all about subtlety. I'm trying to make it a little more subtle. I don't know if it's working. Okay, cool. There you go, Barb. That is done. I've shown you CC libraries. I'm going to get into kind of my point that I was working on earlier with this specific image. And I want to do like so much more. So let's go back. Let's go back in here. Let's grab this. I want to peel this face, right? Right here, like I was doing earlier. Let's create a new layer. Typically, since I want these to be smooth lines, so it's going to be cut out like this face, I'm going to select the pen tool, P for pen tool. Right up here, you can make a path or you can make a shape. Probably even a year ago, I would actually use shape, right? You'd come in here and you'd click, and you would kind of click like that, and then you click up here, and you start to create this shape that's going to be masked out, right? So that's what I'm doing right now. Shoop, shoop, shoop. Actually, you know, let's go ahead and do the eyes because that'll be cool. Using the pen tool, I'm creating a shape, right? I did that right in here. What I can do from there, and what some people will do is maybe they'll have a selection like so, and then they'll go ahead and based on that selection, they make the mask, okay? Problem with that is you can't change it, and we want to make sure that this is changeable, right? So you'll think, okay, well, I'll keep this shape layer right here, okay? And I'll just make this a clipping mask. Hey, that kind of did it as well, but guess what? That's white, okay? I could try to take down the fill, but I'm gonna have this issue of this white around here. And ultimately, I just want that vector path to be a mask. If there was only something called a vector mask. Oh, there is. Well, imagine that. All right, it does mean you actually have to draw the shape again. Sorry about that. This is the old version. Okay, so now, selecting the pen tool, going in here, selecting path. So now I'm just gonna make a path over these eyes. Click, shoop, you get the idea. The nice thing is that this will be changeable later. I'm coming down to my last little bit. We have Jason Levine up next, by the way, doing some amazing video and audio because he is the man. There it is. I could always kind of tweak this all day long using direct selection, kind of bring that down like so, okay? So here's my path. With that layer selected, we'll go into layer, we'll go down to vector mask, and we'll select current path. Right? So that's what I would do. I would take your current vector path and turn it into a vector mask. When I do that, boop, there it is. It converted it. I got to oh, shoot. Invert. Oh, shoot. Okay, how do I do this? Okay, this is... Okay, let me think about this. How do I don't remember how to do this. How do I invert this? No. How do I invert this? I don't want to change it to anything else or add anything else. Hold on. Let's roll it back, roll it back, roll it back. Oh, sorry about that. Let's just do this one more time. Layer, vector mask, current path. There it is. Option key. Let's try the option key. Nope. Yeah, I have this. So let's just take a look at this. Layer, vector mask. Command J. No, because that's just going to make a new one. I can't. I am so sorry. Typically with this mask selected, I don't know why this should be available. Maybe shift, try shift. I love you guys. Okay. I will get this, by the way. Nope. All right, so let's go back into this one. I'm so sorry. Here's how all these are squared away, by the way. You can see how they're... I might have needed to invert it before I actually made the ribbon. Let's try that. And I deeply apologize for this. I thought I knew what I was doing. Command Alt I. All right, so let's kind of move on from here. Because I don't know how I did that, and I'll have to get back to you. So I'd apologize for that. The nice thing is once this is done, and maybe we'll figure it out later. So cool. So here we have all these ribbons set up, right? Here are the actual eyes, right? Let's get rid of that one. Don't really need that one. But here's the eyes, right? We have this vector path that I can jump in, select, use my direct selection tool. I decide I want to bend this in a little bit more. We can bend that in like so, and I have that total control. Path mask, Command Alt I. Command Alt I. I tried that and it did not work, but yeah. All right, cool. So that works. That's what you need to do is create that mask, invert that mask if you need to, because that's what I needed to do in this case. But now I have everything separated out. We could see all this fun stuff, right? We can start to build this up. Boom, boom, boom. That is going to drive me crazy, and I promise to get back to you. Right, so we have the face. There's the hair. Everything is a layer mask. Vector layer mask in this case. And then I just added the background right in there, right? From there, we can start putting some things in here and having some fun with it, which is all I did earlier, right? We could even use the brush that we made earlier as well. We'll just paint some sparkles in here, shall we? Right, here's some fun sparkles of light. Hey, why not? Right, kind of on the inside. Cool. We'll go ahead and shift this color. So I think it should kind of match, but you get the idea. Cool. Couple different layers of different colors. We could bring in different images. That's all I did. I had a lot of stuff already cut out. You probably understand how this works. Eventually you build a library of gorgeous, you know, flowers and branches, right? Dropping those in, positioning them any way you want, and using Puppet Warp to warp those. Boom, 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 like that. Bending that over like so. Okay, cool. That's all I did to make this. So hopefully that works. Just painting in some stuff, making some things look cool. You want to change the blend mode. That looks cool, right? Command J, duplicating that, moving this over, flipping it. You know, nobody's going to recognize that it's the exact same branch. Nobody's going to know. In fact, we want them to match, but you get something like that. And then you end up with something like this. Okay. Painted on shadows. We can see this one here. With the vector layer masks and everything we need. Okay, from there, you ready for this? I'm going to show you a couple more things. I actually got to get going, by the way. I can export this out. I could airdrop this right to my phone. Right, that's what's happening. And I can airdrop it, right? I did another portrait too, by the way. And what I was talking about earlier was like social media. And I thought this was like pretty clever. But let me show you this as well. This is going to be awesome. Wait for it. Let's open up. 0850. So sorry about all of that. There it is. Boom. There's my phone. Boom, boom. Moving that over. You get the idea. But I actually want to show you something else because I could airdrop to my phone. That's one way of doing things. I've actually used something called windowed. Why did it crash on me? It does that every time. Drives me nuts. There it is. Okay, it just disappeared. But there it is. It's actually loaded in. Check this out. There's more we can do. I could upload to my phone. I could use something called windowed. Window is actually Instagram running in a window. So I can actually export out images, right, and load them in directly from my desktop, which is pretty awesome rather than transferring to my phone. I actually made this illustration. We're still talking about pro tips and tricks. Not that one. Apologize. I think this is really cool. Here we go. Here's another one really fast. You can watch this again as many times as you want. Okay, I'm going to open up this one. So we did this fun portrait. Here's another portrait because I thought, hey, well, it would be really cool to take an image and then slice it up. And you're probably thinking, oh, I haven't used this slice tool since the web days when you used to slice up images, right? Well, guess what? You could use it today for those cases. Because what did I want to do? I wanted to slice up the images and put as part of Instagram. So, sorry, this is taking a second to load. Here it is. Here's a specific image. Zoom. There it is. And I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. I could take my slice tool. It's right back here. A slice tool. You could slice up any file that you want. And that's what I did. I sliced this up into different parts, okay? And then I used my slice select tool to kind of tweak it into place, right? I was like, okay, let's make this, get that right there, and let's be aware of the size, which is 2000 by 2000. What do we do at that point? We export this out for web, in this case, to make all of those 9 images, right? Here it is. In fact, there it is. I can select each one and work on its optimization, taking that maybe down to 60% or something like that. From there, we saved it. It gets saved out to the images folder. here's all my fun images. What do? We upload that using windowed. Right. Plus, boop. Grab that image. Opening that up. And posting, right? What you end up with at the end of the day is what you see right in here. And I'm winding down. Jason's up next. But just a shameless self-promotion. This is kind of how it ends up. So this is part of my profile, as you can see. And, you know, you get the idea. Cool? Does that make sense? There you go. All right. All right. Slice things up, export them out. And again, I thought this was fun. I just posted it last night. Go to PTRANI. Shameless self-promo for me. Shame on me. Ooh, that would be fun. Steve, I love that idea. Touch type tool in good old Photoshop is a great idea. But I'm going to let you go. Jason's up next. Fantastic guy. It's going to be super awesome. Diving into actually how to set up projects. Oh, love it. Dive right into actually creating your own videos. Love it, Jason. So it's cool. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me. Sports this weekend. Everybody have a beautiful day. Jason's up next. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you soon.